Welcome to the Women Inspired Podcast. I'm your host, April Seifert. There is nothing more powerful than a woman who is inspired to action, and that's my number one goal, to inspire you, my listeners, to take action in your lives. Each week, I get to interview some of the most inspiring women, and I'm bringing those interviews to you. Let's do it. Well, hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Women Inspired Podcast. I am April Seifert. I'm your host. And this week we have an awesome guest who has a very unique skill set and a very unique message to share with us. This is somebody who has expertise in an area that I have not come anywhere near on a podcast prior to this, any episodes prior to this. So I'm really excited to talk to her because I know it's going to be one of those things that we're going to get to geek out on and learn something completely new that I virtually know essentially nothing about. So with that crazy, obscure intro, I'm really excited to introduce you all to Patricia Lohan. Welcome.
Hi, how are you doing? Thank you so much for having me here.
Great. So good. It's so funny because, so for folks who are listening to this, we actually had to go through a little bit of a scheduling snafu today to make sure that we could both be on. And I will admit that calendars are not my strong suit. I am not very good, but I am especially not good when we are like 15 or 16 hours apart, right? I don't even know what, but I'm in Minneapolis. You are in where?
I'm in Ubud in Bali.
Oh, so not the same as where I am. I think it's 3 degrees here. I'm going to look at my phone. I think it's like single digits here right now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well, I actually, I'm Irish, so I don't do it in Fahrenheit. So I have no idea. We're Celsius, so it's at least 30 here so I've no idea what that is for you guys, but it's hot. Let's just say it's very hot. Just sit and enjoy the heat, basically, here.
I love it. I love it. Oh my gosh. Okay, so you and I got connected online, as you know, weird connections tend to happen. People find each other, and I was so excited to talk to you because, like I mentioned in my very brief intro about you, you have expertise in an area that I have never really learned about. So I'm really pumped. But before we dive into all of that, help my audience get to know you. Tell us a little bit about your backstory and what you do and how sort of you came to the point that you're at today.
Oh, wow. Well, thank you so much for letting me share this. And I love the very unique skill set and unique background because it is always a unique story. I'm from the west of Ireland and I've been living in Bali for 2 years now. But actually, my journey began, and I working with women to basically accelerate the success in their lives through their physical environment, through their homes, through their offices. And then what does that really mean? It's really about creating positive energy in your environments. And I use the practice of Feng Shui. And I also have a Mary Poppins bag of other fun and amazing transformational tools that support that journey as well. But I grew up in a home full of with 2 entrepreneurial parents who were their own business people and had successful big businesses, and that was always so much fun. And I think I always grew up thinking I'm gonna have my own business someday. But on that journey, I kind of just skived off a little bit and kind of followed the flow of like going to university, studying accountancy, and then marketing, and get like the whole idea of like getting a proper job. But I actually don't thrive when I have bosses or being told what to do, believe it or not, especially when I grew up in a house that was so fluid and so dynamic. So it was a very different type of experience for me. So I kind of did a little bit of corporate work once I finished college and my dad decided to come out of retirement and start a new business. So he'd kind of really been bored, essentially. I think that's what happens to people who've been in business all their lives, that when they just step away, he just had no hobbies. So what does he used to doing? He's used to starting up and growing businesses. So 22-year-old naive Patricia said, I'll come and help you. And essentially he basically just gave it to me. He was like, here you go then. Okay, off with you. I was 22, 23. I had 30 staff. We set up and founded a really successful bar restaurant off license on the promenade in the west coast of Ireland. It was full on 17-hour days, like intense. And, that was probably because it was obviously because the nature of that business, but also the fact that that's what I was used of seeing as part of a business and part of a life. But after nearly 7 years in it, I was burnt out. I was like, I cannot do this anymore. I used to dress in black going to work every day. Like, I'm a real colorful person. April will see me earlier. I'm like red lipstick and a red dress. I'm so bright. I just love rainbow colors. And I was literally had just like worn myself down into the ground, and I was exhausted. And my mum had gone to Australia to visit at my sister, and I heard her having this conversation with customers in the restaurant one day, and they were like, "Oh my God, it must be so sad leaving your daughter behind." And, and my mum was like, "No, not at all. Like, she is so happy. Like, she's just so happy. Why would I be sad leaving her?" And I think at that, it was like this weird moment. She turned around and looked at me, and she saw me, and I was just so miserable. I didn't actually realize it, but how miserable I was. But I used to go home and cry on the couch on Friday nights. And my boyfriend at the time used to call them Cry Day Fridays, because I was so miserable. My soul was just like, "Wah!" And I really tried to distract myself. And as things happen, and when you're having these kind of crises in your life, people started to pop up in my life, and it was really, really bizarre. Like, one customer came in to help me with some marketing award I was going for with the Irish language. And it turns out then she used to be big into meditation, and she invited me to her meditation circle. Another customer came in, and he was a yoga teacher, and I ended up going to his yoga class. And I got to his class, and the first session that I said in the class, he said, "Close your eyes. This is an hour for you." And the tears just rolled down my eyes. I had never experienced anything like this before. And I was like, "What? An hour for me? You mean like nobody else?" So slowly but surely, all of these really synchronistic spiritual people started coming in, believe it or not, into the business that I was working in. Like, they were coming to me, essentially. I ended up with a coach and lots of different things. And that soon led me to kind of like decluttering my relationship, really realizing that I needed to leave. And it was my mom who was like, "I think you need to leave." I think after she had that aha moment, she saw me. She's like, "I think you need to leave." And I had gone on a retreat to Italy and done this yoga retreat and seen the teacher. And I was like, "I want to be like her." And I just thought, I'm just going to turn to be a yoga teacher. So I decided to quit the job, leave it behind. So, in terms of my life there, I had a penthouse apartment with a sea view. I was driving a nice small little 2-door BMW. I had like all these flash designer clothes. Like, I kind of like was always featured in the media. It's a small town, but I was like always the face of the business. Like, my life looked perfect on the outside, but on the inside, I was just falling apart. So I got rid of everything. Like, I wrote off my car. I got rid of just everything, went like 40 pairs of shoes, everything. And I ended up moving to India. I thought I was going to India for like a month or two, and I stayed there for a year and a half, where essentially I had this like amazing spiritual awakening. And I didn't even realize that's what it was at the time. To be totally honest, I was just high on life. I was high on practicing yoga, on learning how to chant, on learning sound healing, on just like exploring all of these different healing modalities, becoming a Reiki master, training, and all. I just was like on this high. And part of that, I really dived into using sound therapy and Tibetan singing bowls, and they really are amazing for meditation and for healing. So I decided I would moved back to Ireland with all of these. I had bought like all these bowls. That's a wholly crazy story. Anyways, that I ended up with all these Tibetan bowls, bringing sound healing to Ireland. And I remember sitting, and Buddhist art, and I remember sitting in front of my mum back in our hometown of the west coast of Ireland, and saying, "I think I need to go to Dublin." And she was like, "Well, go." So I went off up to Dublin that morning, and I remember her asking me, "Do you want any money?" And I was like, no. I had 50 euros. Like, I had 50 euros, and I really was so like, I had like a lot of debt, and I had 50 euros, and I had these bowls, and I on art, and I headed up to Dublin, and basically I started from there. Like, I met some friends of mine who had been in college with me, and one said, "Where are you going to stay?" I said, "I don't know." And she said, "I have a single room. You can stay with us." And another girl said, "Here, what are you gonna? I have a bicycle. You can have my bicycle." So I had a bicycle, and I had a small little tiny single room. Like, oh my God, it was just so squashed. I'm full of my friend's stuff as well. So it was just like, but I just started like teaching yoga, doing sound healing, and I started this business. And it grew to basically becoming, I was like the person bringing sound healing to Ireland. I became like a speaker on all the big holistic events. I had stands. I had a full-time therapy practice with clients. And that was just, it was kind of like, I think also part of it is like when you're doing something for yourself, you're passionate about it. And I was so passionate about everything and really just like showing up, being persistent, and things started to fall into place for me. Now, ironically, when I was in the restaurant way back when, a friend of mine had recommended the 4-hour work week to me. And I had thought, oh wow, that's amazing. You can travel and do this stuff. But I was really just used to setting up bricks and mortar businesses. And that's what I essentially did. So 5 years on in Ireland, I'd like met my soulmate. I was driving a gorgeous new car again. Like we were living in a big dream house in the countryside. Like my whole life just like exploded basically within that 5 years. But I discovered, oh my God, I'm stuck. I've set up a business where I'm stuck here, and my passion is travel and freedom. So what unfolded was very interesting. Was we were getting married and we decided we wanted to travel, and then that's how we kind of ended up in Bali. 2 years later, we're still here in Bali. We just decided, well, let's just go and let's see how we get on. And then it was like, oh wow, this is amazing. Let's just stay here. So we're here in Bali now 2 years. But something happened in the middle of that journey when I was working with clients. I had a full-time practice working with clients, releasing stress, trauma, anxiety, clearing limiting beliefs, just really getting in touch with themselves and letting go of all of that hurts and weighted stuff around their lives so that they could just be more free. And I had a beautiful practice, and I know it was helping people a lot, but it was kind of strange. I would ask them questions about, tell me about your bedroom, tell me about your sitting room, what's going on in your kitchen? And they would look at me and be like, what? So, you know, I'm part of this journey is like I developed my intuitive skills. So I was like a very intuitive person. And I had totally forgotten that as a 16-year-old, believe it or not, I had studied and had got books about Feng Shui. And I remember getting those books, and I took a lot of the information in, but some of it was confusing and it was a bit hard to figure out compasses and floor plans. And like I was 16, and definitely not like technically minded. So I got these books, but I just closed them and put them away and never really did anything about it until I had moved into a new apartment in Dublin. And then I was kind of asking clients stuff, and I was like, I want to attract the love of my life into my life. So I started doing Feng Shui in my place based on stuff that I had learned in the past. You know, as the saying goes, once the student's ready, the teacher appears. And 2 magnificent teachers arrived into my life. And I just dived straight into practicing Feng Shui. And it was this bizarre moment where the penny dropped for me, because I'd been helping people with their inner world for so long. And the problem was they were going home to an environment that was not aligned with them, with where they were energetically anymore. It wasn't aligned with what they want in their life. It was full of old stories, full of clutter, full of really poor energy. So it was this like, oh my God, like we can do the inner stuff and then we go to your house and line that up. So Feng Shui is acupuncture for your home. And essentially what I'm doing is I do a reading of a person's home to calculate what energy it is. Is it a good house for people, or is it a bad house for people? Is it a good house for money or a bad house for money? Because ultimately, no matter what you do or clear your beliefs around money or abundance or love, if the house is not supportive for money, it's going to be a real struggle to actually make money or even just accumulate it. You know, you can make it, but then it's gone, or you get these crazy bills out of the blue at the same time. So it was just this massive like aha moment for me to be like, wow, we are so engulfed in like meditation and doing the inner work and clearing our blocks that we've forgotten that the place that we spend most of our time, oftentimes if you're an entrepreneur, you're working from home, that this place is so vital that the energy is lined up and it's 100% supportive of you and your goals. And really how it evolves is that when you create a vision for what it is in your life, or you want to create something new, for example, April, if you want to create a podcast and you want it to be like number one in the podcasts, noteworthy one, you put this idea out, like, but if you plant a seed on like a bare concrete ground, it's not going to grow. It's not supportive. It may try and struggle, but it's not going to actually really flourish. Whereas if you plant a seed of intention into a fertile ground that is like nourished and has like beautiful fertilizers and it's looked after and has the perfect conditions, that will grow and it will flourish and be like, wow, what happened there? And you look after it. And that's exactly what I work with clients, is like creating their homes so that whatever their intentions are, whether it's attracting love or money or a new job or a baby or relationships into their lives, that this space is absolutely 100% supportive of it. And I feel that this is something, you know, that especially when people might hear Feng Shui, they might think, oh, she's going to tell me to like throw out everything, paint my walls white, knock down walls, like maybe my house is wrong and I'm going to have to move out. And like, that's actually not the case. For me, it's really just about getting the energy right. And once that is right, it's like the flow is perfect. You know, the chi is running and things start to move forward. And it's just been miraculous, really. And believe it or not, we moved to Bali 2 years ago and we started from scratch with this online business. And now we've had hundreds of clients work with us all over the world doing Feng Shui. Like I'd been practicing Feng Shui for many years, but it had really just been in person. And I kind of was like, okay, well, let's just try and see if we can do this online, because I don't know what the business fair is going to be like in Bali. Mm-hmm. But it really just has taken off. It's amazing. And just the transformations you see in people's lives, you know, whether it's like money windfalls or their children stop fighting or their husband gets a new job after being unemployed for 3 years. It's kind of like, whoa, whoa, whoa. So for me, that's kind of my journey. That's how I got here. It's not kind of the stereotypical path, but it really, the living in Bali came from the space of like, wow, I've just created this bricks and mortar. How can I do what Tim Ferriss talked about when I read that book about being free to do what I want wherever we want? And I literally am just back from Brisbane yesterday. I was there for a couple of days at a conference. You know, I've been to the States, I've done so much travel, and it feels like, oh my God, like this is exactly what I asked for. So I feel really blessed, and I feel like this is a journey and something that anybody, wherever you are in your life, whatever you're struggling with, that you can start and use your environment to support you by making just even small, subtle tweaks.
Oh my gosh. I'm cheering that for so many pieces of your backstory. I so appreciate you sharing it with us. Something that I think is really critical that we talk about right now. And I bring this up because a lot of my audience happens to be in the US. I do have audience, you know, other places in the world, but a large chunk, because I'm here, you know, happens to be in the US. And the US is an interesting culture because we're a big melting pot. We have people from all over the world come and live here, but a lot of sort of I don't even know what to call it as an umbrella term, like alternative methods or like methods that aren't as mainstream as I would say core of the US is used to hearing about, practicing, really buying into in their life. You were really open to it. So you were really open to chanting. You were really open to sound therapy. You were really open to Feng Shui and to, you know, meditation and, you know, yoga. Like yoga, maybe 15 years ago in the US, maybe a little more than that, was like this weird thing that people didn't really do here. But what I've noticed and what I'm really curious about with you, what I've noticed here is that there is an underbelly of people who are super bought in to trying some of these new ways of making improvements in their lives, whether it be meditation, whether it be working on self-limiting beliefs, whether it is Feng Shui, whether it is some other, you know, method that can help improve their life. There's an underbelly of that in the US. And one common thing that I see when I encounter people who are super open to it is that they hit a point in their life where things are so rough and things are so difficult that they're like, you know what? What do I have to lose? Maybe I'm not totally bought into this meditation thing yet, but this is awful. So maybe it'll be better. Screw it. I'm going to try it. And it kind of sounds like that's what happened to you when you were moving away from your restaurant business. Is that accurate?
That's so true. And I feel like that is, a lot of my clients as well will be at this space. And I just have this one instance of like a lady came to me and she sent the photos of her home. She filled a questionnaire and she's like, everything is just falling apart. I like myself and my husband are on the terms of divorce at the moment. We're talking about divorce. My kids don't want to come home. My business is flailing. I do not know what else to do. Like, I have no idea. And the line that she wrote in her questionnaire was, we bought this house to be our dream house. And since we moved in, everything has fallen apart. And it was just like literally rock bottom. And the irony is, like, when you look at the photos, aesthetically, this house, oh my God, it's so beautiful. You would like out in the countryside with all these trees and nature and stunning. But the fundamental was the house was bad for people and bad for money. And once we changed that around, it was this huge shift for her with her relationship, with her husband, with her business. She made 100,000 that year in her business. Her kids are now totally bought into Feng Shui. And for her, it was like, oh my God, Patricia has come into my world. I have no idea what I'm just going to try this. Like, just give it a go. I have no other. And it's that cracking point. And for me, the yoga was definitely a cracking point for me. It was that moment sitting there with, he's like, you have an hour for you. And physically, and I think this is where you were saying I was open to all these things. Like, honestly, I have angel cards, and I would tell you this, like, so honestly, I have a client now who's in America actually, and she actually lived in Ireland and she taught angel cards. And she lived in my city. I met her in a networking event and I totally just rolled my eyes up to heaven. I was like, angels, whatever. No word of a lie. I was such a cynic to all of this stuff. And lo and behold, about a week later, I had been doing this detox thing. A week later, I was invited to this event down in at a retreat event. And I was like, okay, yeah, I'll go. So because I was really just trying out lots of different things. And I arrived there. And who am I sharing a room with? Only this angel woman. And I was like, okay, I'm being pushed to take this on and be more serious about this. And essentially then I was like, I got to know her and I was like, she's a genuine businesswoman. She's very, very really believes in this. I was like, okay, I'm going to give it a go. And I bought my first deck of angel cards. Now I use them all the time. And now it's come like full circle because she's a Feng Shui client of mine. And it's like the craziest thing, but I was so cynical and so doubting. And it was like, it will keep, it's okay to be cynical. It's okay to just do things with a pinch of salt and be like, I'm just going to try it. Like yesterday I was on a call with one client and she was saying, she's like, Patricia, I downloaded your ebook on how to Feng Shui my office. And I just said, sure, it can't do any harm. Like all I'm going to have to do. So she followed everything on the ebook that I had sent out that she'd downloaded. And 3 days later, she got offered this job out of nowhere. And she's like and without an interview. Like she didn't even need to interview for it. And she just said, you know what, Patricia, that was, I really had no, expectations. I just followed exactly what you said and this happened. And basically 2 weeks later, I was opening my course for the Feng Shui course. And she's like, I'm doing it. Like I've seen the shift in just doing one following little subtle tweaks for my office. So it's a really interesting, a place to be that you definitely just try things out. And you know what, when it comes to yoga teachers or meditation or Feng Shui, I went to many different yoga teachers before I found ones that I really loved and the style of yoga that I liked. And I tried tons of different meditations as well before I found one that really sits with me. And that was the one with the mantras and the chanting. So, and the same with Feng Shui. It's like, I really encourage people to realize that, if you don't give it a go, you can't experience it. And rather than be blocked to it, be going, okay. And whatever the current situation in the States, people are crying out for help and for support. And really all you need is within you. Like everything you need is within you, like the wisdom, and you create this environment that supports you. And you really, it's such a powerful place to be in, to recognize if you're listening to this podcast, you're here for a reason. This message is coming through for a reason. And just take action in some shape or form with it.
I love that. So what's funny about it, I totally agree with you. There are so many people in the US and across the globe.
Across the world,
who absolutely need support. They're looking for improvement. They're finding themselves stuck and feeling like, this is not the life that I would be living if I felt like I had other options. I don't know how to put it into perfect words, but I think sometimes what holds people back from really giving themselves over to something like this, because to your point, what do you have to lose? It's not going to hurt, so you sit and, try to meditate for 10 minutes. You're not somehow going to do damage to yourself by trying this, right? But I think what sometimes holds people back is they're afraid of what their friends or family members or close acquaintances are going to say and think when they're doing something different. And it's interesting because those close friends or acquaintances or people who are very, I'm going to say judgmental about what we might be doing to make improvements in ourselves and try something new, they're typically just as stuck, if not more, than we are. And they're having a difficult time with somebody trying to get out of the position they're in. Do you find that with your clients? Do you hear people do you find that friction point with people, and how do you help them with that?
I can totally resonate with this. And when I first started doing yoga, I didn't have a yoga mat. I used to practice then in my bedroom with the towel out. And I remember my boyfriend at the time coming and laughing at me and being like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I'm just practicing like what I did in my class. And he was just like laughing. And I think one of the parts of this, and I see it with my clients, especially with women whose husbands are really resistant to doing the feng shui and implementing in their house. And I have clients whose husbands don't even know that they're doing it, that they're literally doing it undercover. But what I would say with this is that it's your life, number one. And number two, I feel like oftentimes when that comes up, it's really a push for you to stand in your own power. And I really work with my clients deeply on looking why are you afraid of just being honest with yourself and trying something new, and really letting everybody else's judgments go. For example, and I think that also because I've been through this myself, people laughed at me. I stopped drinking. They were like, you were more fun. And it was in my 20s when I was a party animal. I would have been out every night of the week, party. Seriously was on a verge of a drink problem. It was that bad, to turning into no, I'm not drinking anymore. I'm doing this cleanse, and being told you were more fun when you were drinking. That stuff, and I would be hiding inside in my room, reading all these books about spirituality and personal development. And the irony of this is, fast forward a few years later, the people that were that kind of dismissed me and jested about it were the ones that were asking me about, oh, have you read this book, or what book do you think I should read, or if I was doing this at my house, what should I do? Or even my mom, what color lampshade should I buy? And I'm like, oh my God. And these are the people who weren't that supportive at the beginning. So it's really, it's like you're being squeezed when it comes to these things coming into your life. You're being squeezed to really step into your own power and really believe, you know what, this is my life and I'm going to choose to do it and spend my time on doing whatever I want my way. The other really kind of caveat emptor with this one is you don't have to tell your friends. I think that especially when you come into this spiritual realm, and for me, I was so freaking excited. Oh my God, I was like, I love yoga. Oh my God, chanting. And I'm going to these chanting classes. And I remember going to this chanting class and coming back and telling one of my friends, and she was just like, you what? You sat there and you repeated the same mantra 108 times. And literally I did that mantra and I went in total bliss. I had no thoughts. It was the first time in my whole life I experienced this. I was like, oh my God, what was that? And I was so excited. But actually, I learned fairly quickly to kind of keep the excitement inside me and to really savor it until you come to a space of people are saying, oh my God, what have you done? Or what's going on in your life? And they're like, what's changed in you? Your energy has changed. Things are really starting to flow better for you. And you're like, well, I've just decluttered. I did some feng shui stuff. And then they're more interested. But whereas if they can't see huge dramatic changes automatically and you're like, you're ranting about it. And they're like, well, your life doesn't look any different. That maybe. So it's I would say save it for yourself, save the juiciness for yourself, journal about it, record it, record the journey. And then if you want, you can share it with other people outside. But it's a personal thing, especially when you get onto the self-development journey and spiritual journey.
Well, and it's so funny because people will notice. They'll start to notice differences. And I don't want to let too much of the cat out of the bag because it's an episode that I'll release. It'll be quite a few weeks now, but I have a guest coming up that I'm interviewing who has a very specific type of meditation that she has developed. And I literally sent her what looked like a fangirl Instagram DM because I'm going to release an official episode about this, but I had some postpartum depression and I was suffering from PTSD as a result of it. And there's like all these yuck and all this detail. And there was so much heaviness in my life at, one point in the very recent past. And my husband, obviously, who is a very close person in my life, he noticed these things about me and he knew that I was going through a really difficult time. And then I found, like you said, certain methods work for people, certain things work for people. You just have to keep trying. Yeah. I found this particular type of meditation that literally felt like a light switch. It worked so quickly, and I had to reach out to this woman. And so today, this morning, my husband, this has been something that is fairly recent, I would say within the last 6 months that I've been, going through this. My husband today said, something is different. You did something because I haven't gotten a frantic text message. I haven't seen you look like, you're panicking or anything like this. This has not happened. What did you do? It was so funny. And so you're absolutely right, because people will notice. And that's the time when you can kind of say, you know what, I'm going to let the cat out of the bag because I did this crazy thing that I think that people will think is completely insane. But yes, it made a big enough difference that you noticed it and you had to ask. And I definitely think that can happen with people with these things that feel like they aren't mainstream, particularly in the US.
And especially like the interesting part of it not being mainstream, people say to me and they kind of say woo woo or all this stuff and or like new age. Like Feng Shui is 5,000 years old. Yes. Like it is 5,000 years old. I'm just like really reframing it. It was actually originally it came about in China because people wanted to build houses that were good for health and good for harvest. And harvest represents wealth and abundance, like money. So of course, like if that is the fundamentals of it, like the baseline was like good health and good money. Like literally, if you have that, most of us are going to be pretty happy. If we're all healthy and and we have a good flow of abundance into our lives, like there's not much else that we're looking for, and by having those, your family and everything else supports it as well. So in terms of that, I feel like, it just is being brought out into the world in a different way. And we've been kind of veered into structure and all of that. Like this is how life is. And, in China, if something's going wrong in someone's business, they call out a Feng Shui consultant to fix it. Like that's what they do. That is just their way. And in ancient cultures, they have shamans. They come and they work with the energy. This is what they did. It just that world just got forgotten for a little bit. And it's amazing. I just see, as you said, 15 years ago, yoga was like, what? Whereas now it's coming up and it's like, we really need these tools now. And that's why they're coming back. But there's nothing new age about them, which is kind of like, also reaffirming when you think about it. You're like, right, well, I'm just really connecting back with my ancestors and what they did in the past. And are really kind of coming from a place of just real like love and nature and connection. And essentially Feng Shui is about nature. It's about, we work with the elements. We work with it's such a same energy as Qigong and as acupuncture. It's so powerful as well.
Totally. Okay. So let's get more practical. I want to shift gears a little bit and talk about Feng Shui as I don't even know what the right word is because I feel so dumb that I don't know anything about it. As a practice, as a what activity, like what is it, and help people understand, because we've had the opportunity to talk before this. We've been chatting for a little while now. Like I can assure you, audience, she's a very normal person. And, so you're like a beautiful person to be telling us about this practice and about this method that we can use to improve our lives. So tell us a little bit more about it and how this impacts, like how do we set up an environment that will support us and support our goals?
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, and I really just love the idea of like talking about it being like a happy home practice. Like really it's about creating a home that is happy, and if we have a happy home, we're like life will just flow a lot happier and we'll be happy as well. So when we work with Feng Shui, it's like your house is almost like a person. It's someone that once you start being really grateful for it, that you don't take it for granted. And one of the things is we kind of come, we go, we just treat it like this place that we just like work from and run in, and we just dismiss it. And essentially when we start to really feel really grateful for it. Oh my God, I'm so grateful I have this roof over my head. There's so many people that don't. I'm so grateful for my bed. I'm so grateful for all these lovely pictures and that I have hanging up and my furniture. That changes the energy just by that one subtle like shift of like gratitude for your space will shift things really beautifully. And then the next level I really like to invite people to think about is that you could create your home like a vision board for what you want to create in your life. Like, so it really could be this magnet, and imagery is so powerful. And if people have never heard of or made a vision board before, I would like highly recommend that process. And I do have a training I can give you, April, if people are interested in like learning how to feng shui their vision board. But in essence, the imagery that you have up on your walls, does it represent where you're going in your life? Is it just a random painting that you picked up like 20 years ago and it's just still hanging there? Or is it something that you're like, this is a country I want to visit. This is what I really aspire to having in my relationship. This beautiful picture of a couple in a gorgeous embrace. So moving around your house and starting getting mindful of the actual physical environment will make a huge difference. Like looking around saying, oh, I love that picture. Oh, that I would prefer you to, or, I have so many examples of different clients, but I'm just thinking of one. She had this picture of this woman who looked super depressed up in her living room. And I asked her about, I was like, tell me about this picture. And she's like, oh, you know what? My brother gave it to me a few years ago, and like I don't even get on well with him. The picture looks like this really depressed woman, and I was like, and I don't really like it. And I was like, why are you holding on to it? Like, get rid of it. Why is it in your house? So like that is an instance of like, get rid of things that don't resonate with you. And sometimes we're holding on to them because we got them as a wedding gift or we got them as a present from someone and might offend them. They will not go looking for that thing. And if they do, you'll just be like, oh, it's in the attic. I just was moving things around a little bit, tweaking the energy. Get rid of things that do not spark joy in your house. The next thing is look around and say, what's working? Like, is everything working? Is anything that's broken or chipped, like especially like plates and dishes and equipment? Get rid of anything that's broken. It's like depleting the energy of your home. And in terms of like your house, it has eyes like the windows. So it's important to like when you look out the windows that you can see clearly out. So clean your windows, make sure it's nice and organized, and move around your space and be like, do I love this? Do I love this? And the next level when it comes to feng shui, there's different layers. So the first is really a sense of like gratitude for it, a sense of being mindful what's in it. And then the next is like decluttering. And when it comes to the word declutter, I feel like people are like, my house isn't messy. And I'm like, I'm not talking about mess. I'm actually not talking about normal, everyday living things that kind of move. And, what I'm really talking about is stuff like books on your bookshelf for the last 5 years. I literally remember going to a woman's house and there was a bookshelf in her house that had been there with the same books for 36 years.
Wow.
And I just asked her, I was like, well, do you think anyone's going to read these books if they haven't been touched for 36 years? Oh, I don't know. Oh. And it's like, that is like literally holding energy in your house. It's like blocking it. Right. So and in terms of, that's a very extreme example, but I have worked with a lot of ladies in their offices. And in their offices, they've got like all their husband's paperwork or all paperwork doing with an old business that they don't run anymore. Or even like books about like, one lady was a food critic, believe it or not. And she had a whole section down the bottom of her library full of law books when she studied law like 10 years beforehand. And I was like, why are you holding on to that? Like, make space for new things. And this is a process that I've kind of worked with a lot with my clients when it comes to decluttering, is look at the thing and say, right, I don't need this anymore. It doesn't reflect where I'm going in my life. I'm going to let it go. But what am I replacing it with? Like, what do I want to call in? Do I want to call in relationship? Do I want to call in more money? Do I want to call in more clients? Like, what are you replacing it with? So when you're really letting go from a space of intentionality, you're allowing new things to come in by just really getting clarity. So that lady, she got rid of all those books. Then the rest of the stuff, like there was other things that were in her office were like her suitcases, her kids' toys, like exercise equipment. I'm like, that's nothing to do with your business. Like, you need in your office needs to reflect what's going on, like reflect your business, reflect you, be the space that you're inspired from and that you can work from really productively and really create and attract clients from, like at the highest vibration. So in terms of that, it's really about that sense of like decluttering and clearing away things that don't resonate where you're going in your life, like where you want to go. And then the next level is in terms of your house, every part of your home represents a different part of your life. And that's like, people are like, what? So yeah, there's a thing called a Bagua map, and there's different schools of Feng Shui. So I use a compass for them. It doesn't dictate, it doesn't really go by the front door. So you get out a compass, they have them now on iPhones already, and you can look where is north or south or east. And every part of your home represents a different part of your life. So essentially, it's like, as I said, Feng Shui is like acupuncture for your home. If the acupuncturist figures out and says, wow, there's something off with your liver or your kidneys, she's going to put a needle in a specific area to get that running. And like, your liver has a certain function. So it's the same with your heart and your lungs. So if we kind of think about it from that perspective, like your house has all these different functions. There's the function that looks after your career. There's the function that looks after your money. There's the function that looks after your relationships. There's a function that looks after your spirituality. And each one of those areas can be in great positive alignment energetically. And I have an example. I worked with a lady who literally kind of really rose to stardom very quickly in Ireland. She was a writer. So she was always writing for the broadsheets as a beauty editor. And she would be well known. But all of a sudden, she just got seen on TV. It was just like TV just took off for her. And I met her at that time, and I was doing Feng Shui in her house. So we were doing the Feng Shui of her house, and her career area, her fame and reputation area happened to be where her TV was, and where she called this space her wall of fame. Like, she'd never done Feng Shui, but she obviously intuited done something. And she had like a fake Oscar. She had all her photos with her and famous people. She had the big TV, all in this area that was her fame and reputation area. And the energy that was in that space that year, it was so positive. Like, it was just like, oh my God, like, this is just, you're on fire and you have the perfect things to represent it. And it was literally her just fame skyrocketed. It was amazing, like absolutely out of this world. How busy and popular she got on TV that year. And that's what we look at. Every single part of your home represents a different part of your life, and really how you can energize it to make it more attractive. And that's what I do. And I think there's a little bit of a, people think, oh, if I tweak some things around your house, of course, go ahead. You can tweak some things in your house. For sure, you can declutter, you can do all those levels. The fundamental for me is that your house is completely unique, and the energy that's going on in it is completely unique, and it can be improved and maximized. And that's what I do. And it's really, that's that analysis. It's kind of the acupuncture, it's the technical part, like what needs to go where, what needles needs to go in to get the energy right, and be 100% supportive for you to kind of call in your dreams. But in terms of like getting started and just kind of like playing with things, if you are interested in, say, for example, Feng Shui, you're looking, if you do an office or working from home, you can definitely get my ebook that has like details of like just things you can follow for an office, or I'm happy to share a checklist to get people started on like some other little nuggets of getting started with Feng Shui and seeing how it feels. And as you said, you don't have to tell anyone. This could be just subtle shifts around your house, and you'll start to feel some differences very quickly.
I love that you have these free resources available for people who, who want to start down this journey and really start to make these changes in their own lives. If we've got some people who are ready to let down their skepticism and they're ready to actually, try some things and set up their environment to really support them. Where can people find you online to learn more, to get your ebook? I mean, all of that stuff. Where can people find you online?
Yeah. So people can find me online at patricialohan.com. And there I sign up. I give out like a weekly little tip, like a 1-minute miracle tip. And these are just like tiny little insights that you'll never have may have heard of, you may not have heard of. My idea is just to ease people in and just take try this 1-minute tip, try this one. And then my ebook is available there. So you can download that. In regards to checklist, it's not actually up on my homepage yet, but I can give you a link for it. It's patricialohan.com/checklist. And that gives you a checklist of different areas. So we cover your bedroom, your living room, your kitchen, your front hall, different just things to take note of for each area of your home.
Oh my God, I'm totally downloading that.
Yeah.
Oh
brilliant.
My gosh, I'm totally downloading that. I love it. This has been wonderful. I feel like I have a completely different idea of what Feng Shui is than I did before, certainly. And especially having, no real information about it. So I really appreciate it. Before I let you go today, I have to ask you one final question that I ask every single podcast guest that I have on Women Inspired. We are putting together a Spotify Power playlist of motivational, inspirational songs that help keep people pumped up and motivated throughout the week. And I have to ask you for your favorite motivational song.
So my favorite motivational song, Happy. Will Ferrell, Happy. I dance down the aisle to Will Ferrell, Happy. It just makes me so happy. It just really just sends me into another sphere of just connecting with that amazing day. But also it's just, it's really, if we could just be more connected to all of the great things that we have in our life already, we will just attract so much more of it and connect with that happiness.
Oh, totally agree. And for those of you out there, you should follow Patricia on Instagram because it will make complete sense as to why that is her absolute favorite song. Seriously, your posts are so, you can tell how happy you are and you just radiate it in all of your Instagram posts. And so definitely follow Patricia out there if you need like a ray of sunshine coming straight from Bali during your week. You will definitely get it by following her on Instagram.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you for this opportunity. And, just if anyone has any questions or anything going on, feel free, follow me on Instagram, come join my Facebook group, just be part of it. Send me a question. I'm happy to support. I really just want to get this message out that you can make changes in your life just with your environment. So, it's happy anyway. So best of luck, everybody. And thank you so much. Have an amazing day.
I really hope you guys enjoyed that interview, and I hope you learned a ton because I know that I did. And you can probably tell from how excited I was while I was talking to Patricia that I love learning about these brand new things that I just don't know anything about. I am fascinated by the work that people do, especially when it's in an area where I'm extremely unfamiliar, because I always know when I talk to somebody who does something that I just don't know a lot about, that I'm going to learn a ton, and that typically the topic, in this case, Feng Shui, the topic is not likely to turn out to be what I thought it was going to be. And so if there's one thing I can encourage you to do is to just keep an open mind whenever you encounter these new things that, you may have preconceived notions about. You just never know. I mean, it was just so interesting to talk to her. Now, one thing that I want to call out before we close this episode out, I recently, this past weekend, spent a beautiful 3.5 days in an area of northern Minnesota that I call it soul country. It is just gorgeous and phenomenal. If you've never been to the North Shore of Lake Superior, I can't recommend it highly enough. Go at any point in the year. It's incredible all year round. We were there in the winter this weekend, obviously, and we were hiking and it was gorgeous and there are frozen waterfalls and it's just magical. And here's how this relates to this week's episode. Patricia talked about how we can set up our homes in order to support the work and support the goals that we have. What was really interesting, and it's such an irony that it happened right as I'm about to release this episode. I got up to the North Shore of Superior this week, and I can't explain it. It happens to me every time. It's like my heart opens up when I get up there and my mind expands, and I feel myself calming down and slowing down cognitively, and I get all these ideas, and I just feel so creative and so excited to come back and work on all these really fun things. And I credit all of that to the incredible surroundings that I'm in when I'm up there. It is just magical and beautiful. And it's a neat parallel to what we talked about with Patricia this week, because she's essentially saying, set up your surroundings so that they put you in the right state of mind and that they give you the right type of energy. And however you believe that either does or doesn't happen or whatever, it is just one of those amazing things when you experience it happening. And it was so neat because I did this past weekend, and it just is cool that I'm releasing this episode at a time when that happened. So pay attention to the surroundings that you're in and whether they put you in a mindset that allows you to create the things that you need to create and get the things done that you need to get done, or whether it's kind of zapping you of your energy. And a last piece that I would say is go check out Patricia's website and go check out the free tools that she has up there. Like I said, keep a totally open mind. You never know when you're going to encounter something really cool that could totally change your life.
Before we close out today, I want to say thank you to my producer, Cameron Hill. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with someone else who might benefit from this content. And if you have a moment, click the link in the episode description to leave me a rating and a review on iTunes. It would mean so much to me. Finally, if you're ready to start making changes in your life to align your day with your goals and your values and what fills you up, I have a free tool to help you get started. Sign up at aprilseifert.com to get immediate access to my free Life by Design life blueprinting tool. I designed this tool using theory from the fields of psychology and design thinking, and it will absolutely help you get clear on the areas of your life that are serving you and those that aren't. Clarity is a critical first step before you can design your own best life. Thank you so much for joining me this week. Until next time, have an inspiring week.